Welcome to the Bold Analysis. This is number one political podcast in Kenya. And I am here to give you a revelation, details about the 10th IMF meeting with William Ruto's delegates in Statehouse. And Kenyans have been raising questions on what exactly was the real mission of the IMF delegation from Washington, DC. So the Brighton team were here and walikuja sana na ubaya. They were not here for good news. My reference is on Daily Nation. This is page 6. Why IMF remains in the neck. This is it. This is the article. So if you're going to check why IMF remains in the neck, this article details in the weekly review what exactly was the mission. And I've just looked at this in details that I can tell you that it is very easy to say things in the campaign trail. It is very easy to make a promise. But when you settle in the office to work, that is where you meet the reality. The reality on ground is that you need to tighten your belts because things are not still rosy in this country as far as our economy is concerned. And I'll try to separate this to give you different layers of that. And then we shall draw political interpretation of what their strict demands portrays for this country. Kindly subscribe to our channel. Click the notification bell just next to the subscription button, and also like our video. I humbly request you to like, because when you like the video, that's when the rating also, it boosts the rating, and through that our video shall reach a wider audience. To the Team US, asanteni sana. Yes, I received your coffee. Oh, yes, I received your coffee and I take it with great humility. IMF wants Kenya and President William Ruto to table a proposal on how it intends to pay a 2 billion Eurobond that will mature in June 2024. You might ask, it's supposed to mature in June 2024. Why are we talking about it? And so that's why I tell you that you need to stick around here so that you get what exactly is going on. And the reason why they flew to Kenya urgently was that they were actually opposing and are against a plan by the Kenyan government to create a sinking fund to settle the Eurobond maturities. So, of course, at this level, I need to explain what a sinking fund is. A sinking fund is a kitty that will allow government to do partial savings, so that these partial savings will be used to pay the Eurobond maturities. So it's not, instead of waiting for June 2024, and that's what Ruto's advisors, I think, were saying, instead of waiting for June 2024, so that you pay the amount as a lump sum, and with that you can run the risk of liquidation, they were proposing that we create a sinking fund so that government starts saving pole, and through that saving, they save what is used to service the debt. My problem is, when you make that, government created that sinking fund, and I was talking to one of analysts who was saying that is why William Ruto seems to be pushing further for the saving culture. They want people to save more, and remember, statutory savings like NSSF is going to mature at your retirement. It's taking time to mature. So if you increase the NSSF deductions, and it's going to take long to expire compared to NHIF, which most of us normally use for medication. NSSF is just a social protection fund, and mostly it's just a saving to help you when you leave, when you stop working. So they will use that. The more we shall have the saving, is the more we shall have what used to service our loans. So I can also argue that if you want to help Mr. President, then you need to uptake that NSSF saving. Now, that is the stand they are against, and they are saying that if you allow Kenya, if you allow government to go with the sinking fund way, then they're mostly going to, according to them, is that they're going to create they're going to elevate more creditors above others. Like, wow, ni kama wamepewa priority, and that's why they're getting the sinking fund is going to service loans to special creditors above others. But there is a rule that all creditors should be the same. Now, the statistics show that the boiling point of Kenya's national budget is going to be in June in 2024, where many of the concession loans are set to mature. Tuko kwa shida. And IMF are holding their ground that there are things that we must get right. Uhuru Kenyatta, Uhuru administration, tried to reprofile some of these debts last year, but those efforts could not mature well because of the eruptions in Ukraine. And I know many may be asking, so does it mean that Uhuru did not pay? No. According to the annual report released by the Treasury last month, October, the payment of principal and interest of the foreign loans between 2021 was higher in 2022 compared to 2021. And it was the record highest in the history of the country. Why? Because on the year 2020, Kenya benefited from debt service suspension due to the coronavirus outbreak. So during that time, IMF and the other global lenders were giving the third world countries, we are not amongst the third world countries, the developing countries, some debt holiday. And that debt service suspension, Kenya benefited amongst those countries. So by then we did not pay. But even though we were not paying, but our debts were accruing. So that's why we are in this problem. And then here we were given the last loan, and that's where we have a problem. There are demands that have been laid, but IMF is laying for William Ruto government moving forward in terms of this debt. Remember, IMF is not only a lender, but is also supposed to give policy advice, capacity building, and they are supporting economic policies that can advance financial stability of the 190 member countries. So Kenya is amongst the 190 member countries. That's why we are coming there. Someone is asking, why not other places? Only amongst the member countries. They have put a host of demands to William Ruto. Number one, they want the president to broaden tax bases and eliminate fuel subsidies, which William Ruto has done. To restructure Kenya Airways. Well, I'll tell you why. Restructuring Kenya Airways is because Kenya Airways is one of the parastatals that benefited from lent on loans. Not apart from loaning government, treasury, especially what goes to the consolidated fund, they can also loan parastatals and different ministries. And Kenya Airways is one of them. Publication of forensic audit on COVID money, how it was spent, because by that time Kenya received some loan too, and apart from that there was debt suspension. Then expose companies awarded public contracts and anti-money laundering legal framework. These are some of the demands that they have put to William Ruto in terms of the future engagement. And looking at this, I think it will need Kenya himself and Kenya itself to really have tightened our belts, because these loans come at a cost. Apart from paying the principal, you also pay the interest. And remember, sometimes this interest, because there are loans that are taken with other currencies, at other currencies, you find yourself paying at a very high. So the issue here is there is a monster in William Ruto's government, and that monster is called debt. That is why at campaign trail it was comfortable to the way and make all those statements that we are not going to pay, we are going to do that, we are going to do this. But now that you're in government, not even the lead economist at the campaign trail, Musalia Mudavadi, is commenting about our national debt. Because that debt, understanding that that debt went to people's pocket, that's neither here nor there. When it comes to servicing, it's about the government of the day. Now, I want us to take this, some of this situation into our political space. And one thing I can see here is Ruto is likely to face a very harsh reception in public. Let me tell you, some of those demands are unpopular, and IMF is actually saying that the new administration of President William Ruto is likely to face stiff conditionality regime requiring politically unpopular reforms across several sectors. This is according to a 38-month IMF program. So whatever is happening did not start with William Ruto. It started with the previous regime, and it's a 38-month program of supporting the countries, the member countries, in terms of this program-based loans and also parastatals and agencies. So this has been here with us. And we insisted that William Ruto needed to accept that there is a precedence, not that everything is coming from the moon. Here is where you will agree with me that Ruto will likely face a backlash because of the unpopular decisions. The decisions about increasing the taxes, because they have to broaden the tax base, it means they have to collect a lot. There are a lot of other things that you may have to forego so that you have money to service our loans. And the challenge here is this, that the first term will be hit by the economic hurdles. It's going to be a big challenge for them. So whether Kenyans are going to understand, and I've always said, the problem is we lied to our people. We lied to our people. You all went out there and lied that Uhuru Kenyatta was the problem. Uhuru Kenyatta was never the problem. We are in this problem because of all of us, including me. How many Kenyans are filing zero returns? Many of them. So we are in this problem as a whole. This was never an Uhuru Kenyatta problem. And because you made people to understand it was an Uhuru Kenyatta problem, now that Uhuru Kenyatta is not there, you don't have an escape route, and you must find the way to communicate it well. Now, this is what Ruto should do. Number two things that Ruto must do. I think the way there was transparency at the campaign trail and in the office of the deputy president, the boardroom messaging of the boardroom decisions will be key in terms of a well-laid communication structure so that you manage the expectations. Because not many of us will sit in the points of knowledge and have the privilege to understand. But for the people, for the Mama Mboga and the hustler that you lied to in the campaign trail, you must find a way of still going back to him or her and tell him the truth. The truth is, Uhuru was not the problem. The word here is our foreign investment policy will largely be influenced by our debt servicing plans. We need to look at this holistically. And the concentration on the US, I'm so skeptical about it. I've listened to one of the Ghana MPs who was here, and he was saying that are we really discussing about what these US guys are giving us? Are they really in here for us, for the interest? And what is the big interest? We seem to be so much pushing to US. There are a lot of the US meetings here and there, and because they are bringing the humanitarian aid, and now the NGOs are thriving. It's of course also good for the domestic labor market, but we seem to be pushing so far. America may not even help us at the end of the day, because in the IMF, World Bank, we've not spoken about World Bank. Then there are bilateral loans. This one's between Kenya and China, between Kenya and Japan, between Turkey and Kenya. We also have those bilaterals. And when you create a sinking fund, you've created a sinking fund to service IMF. But how about the one for China? We may find ourselves, and of course, it is time to devoid politics. I think Ruto should talk with his cabinet, and they should just make sure these meetings with China, let them be boardroom, let them not be publicized so much, because other people will also feel like, hey, kwani sisi hatuangaliwi. We should not show, William Ruto should not show the strong intention or rather the strong links with America. Because at the end of the day, our debts cuts across. That's my bold take. Let's meet in the next. Big congratulations to Arsenal, by the way. We just won 1-0. Yes, I support Arsenal. Asanteni sana.